Bill, am I far right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're absolutely bonkers.
No, I'm not.
Far right.
Yeah, if you look at any classical...
What makes me far right, Bill?
If you look in any classical political terms, the views you espouse, Adam, are far right.
Any credibility you ever had with the viewers. I'm far right.
Bill, you clearly, Adam, every week you claim that you're a sage of public opinion with your finger on the pulse because a few people come into your pub.
Bill, you are deluded. You are utterly deluded.
No, I think you're the one who's deluded.
Developing right now an astonishing on-air row between Adam Brooks, the GB News panellist, and ex-Labour MP Bill Rammell has caused an explosion. James Melville summed it up on X, writing, here's ex-Labour MP Bill Rammell labelling commentator and pub owner Adam Brooks as far right. It's the same lazy smear tropes over and over again. And it's one of the reasons why so many people right across the UK are fed up with derogatory accusations like this. Adam was furious. He posted on Sunday evening, a former Labour minister called me far right just for wanting secure borders and no illegal immigration. Tonight, the Labour Attorney General has labelled Tories and Reform UK as Nazis. Labour are finished. They are completely detached from the average Brit. Now, the Attorney General has had to walk back that despicable Nazi comment, but it does show you, doesn't it? We're seeing this all the time. The fake news agents, James O'Brien, all of us, ordinary Brits, are now being labelled as far right. So I wonder if it's just time that we almost reclaim the label in the same way that J.K. Rowling reclaimed the label TERF, trans-exclusionary radical feminist. I mean, if anyone is going to suggest for a single second that someone like me is far right, I would argue that they are finished in terms of putting forward anything that is factually relevant at all. However, when this bust-up did happen on GB News, you could absolutely understand the visceral anger coming from Adam Brooks. We're going to get reaction from June Slater and Howard Cox in just one moment, but first, watch this bust-up.
By the way, I will say he's not far right.
All right, but others, and therefore they're putting out a holding statement saying we're monitoring the situation.
What makes far right? Bill, am I far right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're absolutely bonkers.
No, I'm not.
Far right.
Yeah, if you look at any classical...
What makes me far right, Bill?
If you look in any classical political terms, the views you espouse, Adam, are far right.
Any credibility you ever had with the viewers. I'm far right.
Bill, you clearly, Adam, every week you claim that you're a sage of public opinion with your finger on the pulse because a few people come into your pub.
Bill, you are deluded. You are utterly deluded.
No, I think you're the one who's deluded.
The audience are probably screaming at the telly right now.
Bill, the reason why the Labour Party are absolutely tanking in the polls at the moment, because they have this vision that you have, that the bell curve of opinion is completely out of whack with reality. They think that if you care about immigration and you want to stop the boats and you want to bring down both legal and illegal migration, that makes you far right, when actually it probably puts you in the middle of the bell curve.
Not true.
So
hold on, Adam, you keep interrupting people.
Stop. Stop. We can conduct this debate without raising voices and getting shouty, OK?
I've just been accused of being far right.
No, let's have it out.
Tell me why I'm far right, Bill.
I agree. Let's have it out on a sensible level, though.
And I really do understand Adam's reaction there. I really do. I mean, Adam is a great guy, by the way. I'm very proud of the fact that I'm the first person who put him on TV. And I think he has really developed an amazing career. And he's constantly put down by these vile snobs in the mainstream media who think that it's terrible that there's a pub landlord. And you saw that with Bill Rammell there and the snobbery of him, that it's terrible that there should be a pub landlord allowed to opine outside of his bar because they're so snobby. But I do wonder if we just shouldn't care about these labels that are thrown at us. Now, Adam Brooks does care, and I get it, because it's like if you used to be called a racist or a transphobe, that could end your career. But the more and more these labels are just used by the left with nothing to back it up, I would argue the less effective they become. Adam Brooks, though, was furious about this, and he responded here.
What Bill's trying to do here is dig himself out of a hole that he cannot get out of. He's now trying to get the audience back on side by spreading lies about me, saying things that I've never said and I never would say. Of course, migrants are not responsible for 70% of crime in the UK. That is impossible. One stat I have used in previous weeks is that foreign nationals are 70% more likely to commit sex crimes in the UK. That is from data pulled off the National Police computer, and it was printed in the Daily Telegraph as shown here.
He's got receipts. And that was the thing, June. You know, what I loved about Adam Brooks is he's such a passionate guy, and he doesn't claim to be a journalist, or he doesn't claim to be a commentator, but he does his research. He's incredibly passionate. He's incredibly diligent. And clearly he was mortally offended about that far right term being thrown at him, given that, June, it is a term that in the past was connected with Nazi Germany, for example. However, remember, Bill Rammell thinks that anyone connected to Reform UK is far right. So isn't it just time we start almost like embracing the label and being like, okay, if you want to call us that, who cares?
Bill Rammell is one of the Labour MPs who suggested that the Lockerbie bomber should be released early on compassionate grounds. The Lockerbie bomber, back in the day, killed 270 people. 11 people were on the ground, and he developed prostate cancer. He was given a 27-year life sentence, and when he got discovered to be in the terminal part of his cancer, people suggested that he ought to be released. He was one of the people that was very vocal about that, which I find absolutely abhorrent. The man should not have been released. He should have been given medical treatment, and however long he lasted, he should have stayed in confinement. They estimated he had 3 months to live. Because of people like Bill campaigning for his release, he managed to leave the hospital and the confines of a prison and spend the rest of his days out in a comfortable villa in Tripoli. And he lasted 31 months. That's the sort of man Bill is, that's calling our good friend far right. And to turn around and say that you think you are someone because a few people come in your pub, Adam will be more in touch with how the country feels than that man will ever be. They're out of touch. They're out of date. It's not a bad label. You know, I got called gammon so much during Brexit. I thought, sorry. So it's on my Facebook page.
Chief Gammon, June.
Chief Gammon.
Remember, I used to use it. I used to use it when you came on my old GB News show because I thought, let's embrace it. Do you know what I mean? Let's embrace it. Like, I mean, Howard, you're called every name under the sun these days.
Oh.
I'm afraid
not. Tell me who they are. I'll sort them out for you, Howard.
Thanks, Jude. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I've crossed swords with Bill Rammell in the days when you were at GB News. I think I was on, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Patrick Christie's show, and I was up against him. And he didn't actually accuse me of being far right, but I was standing for London Mayor, and he was defending Sadiq Khan as the incredible person that he is for London. And I put some, facts to him, real facts to him about Sadiq Khan, the fact he's a pathological liar, all those sorts of things. I know he's not there to defend himself, before you remind me that, but Bill Rammell just was defending the indefensible. But he was still pointing the fact I was positioning myself, and he might as well have said it then, you were just a far-right thug, Howard. And that's what the sort of message I got from him. He's not a nice person to be with. I mean, people like Stephen Pound, I regularly have a punch-up with him, and he's great fun. He allows you to talk and debate, and he doesn't insult you personally. Bill Rammell's always been the complete opposite.
But first, the reason you're watching this show is that it's becoming increasingly difficult to trust mainstream media or the so-called fact-checkers who claim to determine which facts are true. And for good reason, given the ongoing debates over free speech, the controversy surrounding Brexit, and how Trump and other anti-establishment politicians are portrayed. So I have the solution. It's called Ground News. It's the best way to stay informed and cut through media bias and manipulative narratives so you can get the facts for yourself. It's been a game changer for a news junkie like me, and you can see for yourself at ground.news/outspoken. So let me show you this incredible website and app in action. Let's take the recent landmark decision by the UK Supreme Court that ruled that women can only be biological adult human females, reversing years of trans extremism. You can see clearly in one place that over 360 sources around the world are covering this story. Ground News instantly shows how the story is being covered by the media, broken down by whether it leans left or right, illustrated by its biased distribution chart. And if you scroll down, you can actually see every headline about the story along with the political bias and ownership of the publication. So quite clearly, you can see like great coverage from the Daily Wire. They gave a really good headline. UK Supreme Court rules trans-identifying men are not women. Loved what spiked online, and the Daily Telegraph did too. By stark contrast, however, the left-wing National in Scotland said the result was only a victory for gender-critical feminists, and the Canary ran with like just a nutty headline. Victory for the far right as Supreme Court rolls back trans women's rights by 2 decades. I mean, you couldn't make it up. My favourite feature is the blind spot feed, though, on Ground News, which surfaces upwards of 20 stories daily that receive the majority of coverage from one side of the political spectrum. So if you love the news, like you know I do and I know you do, the blind spot feed is the best way to get a balanced perspective on what's really happening. So go to ground.news/outspoken, or you can scan the QR code on screen if you're watching on YouTube and Rumble to subscribe today. You will get 40% off the same Vantage plan that I use for unlimited access. Big discount that. So that's ground.news/outspoken. But now, back to the show. Yeah, there are 2 different types of lefties. I'll certainly give you that. There was another interesting moment on GB News this week, though, that I didn't like, and June, you may disagree with me over this one, but Rupert Lowe was on, and I am very glad to see that Rupert Lowe was on, because for a long time GB News had actually banned him from coming on at all. This is after Nigel Farage expressed fury over the fact that his channel was covering too much of the Reform UK Civil War. But what I didn't like is the fact, because remember GB News claims that it's the free speech station, but when Rupert Lowe started speaking about his defenestration from Reform UK, which I think he absolutely has a right to talk about, and it's clearly something that's in the news, he was shut down by the presenter Martin Daubney. Watch this.
And that's what I'm turning my mind to. So talking to the Tories, I talked to all the Tories a lot. You know, they knew that the attempt to politically assassinate me was a farce.
Okay,
so Rupert,
can we stop dwelling on that, please? You've made that point now about 5 times.
But rather than being cold-shouldered, Martin, I've been talking to them. There's some great young Tories, but...
Good. And let's talk about what that might look like. You've been quite critical of the Conservatives in the past, although you are naturally a Conservative.
Now, so my view on this is, look, I actually have no problem with GB News hiring whoever they want, okay? So I'm not one of these people that says there should be no politicians allowed to work in the media, because no one gave a damn when David Lammy had a show on LBC. So if GB News wants to give Nigel Farage a show, absolutely they should be allowed to do that. He's their star presenter. He's their top-rated presenter. He's been there since day one when he was on my show, and, you know, I'm not for a second saying that he should not have his show. But June, I think it is worrying when they claim that they're a news channel, they claim that they're a free speech station, and yet Nigel seems to be able to be setting their editorial agenda, given he is likely the next Prime Minister. That's what I don't like about it.
I don't think that's happening at all. I think they were talking to him. They wanted to obviously keep Rupert on this. I don't know, it's more than a rumour, because he's admitted to having meetings with Robert Jenrick. I got a WhatsApp about it saying that, from a Tory, saying that Rupert's having meetings with Robert Jenrick about joining the Tory party. And I just said as a quick, did he ever leave? Because he readily stood down for them in 2019. As far as I'm looking back, Rupert Lowe wasn't the one that Nigel wanted to stand down in 2019. He stood down of his own accord. He's essentially, I mean, we all are. I was just admitted, it's the Thatcherite. Me too. That's where we should be voting, but we can't, because they've dissolved into nothingness. I don't know what Rupert wants from this. Rupert wants to be a leader. That's quite clear. Rupert's got the capabilities of being a leader. I just don't think he's gone about it the right way, and currying a crowd because you sound good and you're coming out with the right statements isn't enough for me, because I've had all that from the ERG with Brexit. I've had it from Boris bloody Johnson, where I wasted so much of my time volunteering for Vote Leave and campaigning and giving up. I've 10 years, not a single payment. day after day after day. I'm very bitter about the Tories. So, you've seen what my poll came out with. 17% of the people. Rupert needs to be careful.
So you basically
this is a warning for Rupert. He needs to be careful.
Don't rejoin the Tories.
The Tories are ruthless. They will use a man like Rupert to destroy or attempt to destroy. It won't happen. To attempt to destroy reform, and then they'll leave him because what he said about immigration is just, it's just too, put him on.
Look at what they did to Lee Anderson.
Look
at what they did to Lee Anderson. They booted him for simply challenging Sadiq Khan. By the way, though,
look what they've done to Suella Braverman.
Yes.
They never. What you've got to look at with
these
these
Tories. She's the black sheep in that party.
Never discussed mass deportation until they were out of power.
Yes.
They gifted power to Labour.
Totally. But at the same time, June, I totally agree with that. But my thing is, and it always has been, though, that when there are individual Tories who punch through and want to change things, for example, like Robert Jenrick, I'm going to support him. Doesn't mean that I always believe that he's right, or certainly that I'll vote for the Conservatives again. But what we have to do is shift the Overton window overall. But look, I want to just show you this amazing guy who is doing these new spoofs of James O'Brien, because O'Brien is losing the plot at the moment, right? He is just losing the plot. And it's sort of beautiful to watch. And I think sometimes we've just got to have a bit of fun with it. So watch this.
Calling from Shoreditch. Glenn, what made you pick up the phone this morning?
Hi James, I'm a first-time caller. I voted for Brexit and I am ashamed to say that I got it completely wrong.
You and 17 million others, so don't worry, you're not the only one without a brain cell, mate.
I beg your pardon?
Tell us what you got wrong then, Glenn.
Well, I really believe we were going to take back control of our borders.
But we've always had control of our borders, so that's a non sequitur, Glenn. What else did you naively believe?
Well, I suppose that I believe that the government will be able to get illegal immigration under control.
No, I'm going to have to cut you off again there, mate. They already could do that in accordance with EU law, despite your Auntie Doris lying through her chip-chomping teeth and telling you otherwise. But look, I don't want to get cross with you, and I'll always show contempt for the con men and compassion for the con, like inexplicably and ludicrously simple-minded individuals like you, but you carry on. What else?
Oh, I don't know. I just called in to say that I think I got it wrong, quite honestly, and I'm frankly ashamed.
So you called in thinking you were Billy Big Bananas to say, I don't know why I voted for Brexit. I know that I regret it. I still can't explain it, and I know I got it wrong, but I haven't the foggiest idea why. And all this is being said at 11:03 on national radio.
James, I'm 95 years old and I just called to say we all make mistakes, and I thought maybe you'd understand that.
I'm sorry, mate. I can only show a certain amount of compassion. I've got unreserved sympathy for the gullible souls who permitted themselves to be taken in by the farrago of lies upon which Brexit was of course built. I feel a sense of perennial compassion for the Daily Mail dimwits like you, who were so infatuated by the prospect of flying on a blue passport that you couldn't give a flying fig about the utter decimation of small businesses and the deportation of millions of people whose only sin was that they don't look like you.
Well, I'm awfully sorry to hear that is your opinion, James.
No, it's not my opinion, Glenn. It's incontrovertible facts.
Well, again, I guess I got it wrong, James, and I suppose you were right all along.
There it is. That wasn't so hard now, was it, Glenn? Clutching on your Zimmer frame in your nursing home. Turns out that we can be friends after all. How old did you say that you are?
I'm 95 and next month I'll be 96.
Well, you live a long life, mate. 11 is the time.
That's Tony Lapidus and Howard Cox. You've got to admit, I mean, a lot of people have tried to spoof this sort of nasty, vile diatribes that O'Brien puts up, but I think he's got it best, right? He's done the best.
Well, I've turned down every time to go on there because I was a victim of him when, because he's, I'm anti net zero and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I go on Nick Ferrari, he gives me a fair, because he's a bit of a petrol head, which is good. And in the days of Andrew Castle and a few others on there, I'm happy to go to LBC. But James O'Brien is a nasty piece of work. He's a horrible man. I've seen him destroy people. And that mimic just now for pretending to be a 95-year-old, I can see him actually doing that. It was so close to the truth.
It really is. It really is. And I absolutely love the fact that sometimes we just need these comedians to come into our world and just absolutely expose the horror of that man. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.